to the Buyer's Box. This is Ally Burnett, and today we have a very special guest, Mia from Reside. Welcome.
Hi everyone. How you doing, girl?
Good. So happy to have you back. Thank you for coming back a second week.
Thank you
Can
for having
you just introduce yourself if anyone missed it last week?
Well, I am Mia. I'm the director of team production at Reside, and I basically just coach and train agents all day long and team owners.
Awesome. Thanks. Mia works directly with our team, all of the agents on our team as well. Last episode, we talked a little bit about productive habits, when to call, but we didn't talk about what to do when you call. So today we're going
Mhm.
to go over that. We hear from a lot of agents that they just either worked with a lot of people in the past, but they haven't talked to them in a while. They don't know what to say. They feel awkward. Or we also hear, oh, Allie, Andrew, I blew 10 grand last year on online leads from Realtor, Zillow, all those other places, and I have literally no clue what to say to these people, that sort of thing. So we'll start with Sphere, because oh gosh, oh sorry. So we'll start with Sphere. Talk a little bit about that. So if you want to start lead generation, you want to call, you're time blocking, you're ready to go. What am I going to say to these people that I know or in my phone, whatever?
Yeah. Well, you know me, I always have to start at the beginning before I give the answer because the answer it's not enough. The answer itself, they don't do it if they don't know why they're not doing it. Fear of influence is something a lot of agents avoid. I think if it's easier to talk an agent into calling a lead than it is to calling their sphere most days. And that's just fear of rejection at the end of the day. It's like everything else in real estate, when you're working leads, you're making calls, you're putting yourself out there, you face a lot of rejection. That's a required part of the process. And we're hardwired for connection as human beings. So there's a lot of natural, subconscious, and conscious resistance to encountering or facing that rejection or the potential rejection. And so in Rise, we spend a lot of time giving the agents and team owners, I should say the participants, in exposing them to that discomfort, really developing a tolerance for that feeling. And it's similar in sphere of influence. Sphere of influence, it's an even more vetted, credible fear because they are sort of confirmed peers. We have some sort of relationship with them so that there's already a dynamic established. Maybe there's a hierarchy established in that relationship as well. And so there's additional layers that make it a little bit more difficult to talk to people that we know. And that's just vulnerability. And vulnerability out of that at the end of the day is it's just fear of feeling something. And so the first thing that you're going to have to be willing to do is get over that feeling, get over the issue. Easier said than done. I could spend hours talking about what that would look like and we could get really deep in it. But like basic advice on this, and this is what I tell the agents, is do it scared. Do it scared. Don't wait to not feel afraid. Don't wait for it to feel a certain way. Just do it scared. Make the call. Now, as far as how do I even approach my sphere of influence, the most important thing that you could do is build the relationship. Because the person that wins the relationship is the person that wins the business. And it can't be a quid pro quo. Now, it doesn't mean I don't talk to my clients or my sphere of influence about real estate. And it doesn't mean that I don't allow those business conversations to come up because that's actually a part of normal relationships. They're dynamic and they cover a lot of things. But I don't want to walk around always seeing if they might be thinking of me as a real estate agent, or maybe they have a real estate need they haven't told me about. I really want to focus on the relationship. So first and foremost, your sphere needs to exist in one place that you can tag, you can automate, that you can communicate in one place too. So ideally it's a CRM. At the end of the day, it's a follow-up boss, it's Lofty, Commissionzing, Real Geeks, like you're not Real Geeks, Boomtown. I don't know why I needed to list all of 10 CRMs I can think of right now. Anyway, it doesn't matter what it needs to be in a CRM. But you could also bypass that expense for now. You would lose the benefit of some of the automations. And there are cheap CRMs out there that can consolidate that, or there's teams that pay for it for you. But you can do it in a Google Sheet at the end of the day. Actually, something that's highly efficient in tagging, surprisingly, Google Contacts. So if you've got your work email, your real estate email aligned to a G Suite, ideal. So your sphere of influence needs to be in one place at one time and communicated to through that mechanism. Ideally, if you have a CRM that has the ability to call out of, that you would have that phone number saved in your contact card as your work number, and you would even make your sphere calls through your CRM so that you can see when they've been logged. And this is really important because there's a cadence to getting a 10% yield annually out of your sphere of influence. And it can't be done sort of willy-nilly. I think there are maybe 1% of the agent population that can get away with running around with their head cut off, but they always bonk. At the end of the day, they always bonk. And trust me, I've worked with brand new agents to agents that have been in the business since the crash. Eventually, they can't keep it all together anymore. And so if you can start to systematize some of that now, it'll make you more effective and more impactful in getting a yield out of your sphere of influence. So once they're all consolidated in the same place, now I can talk about what I'm going to say. My favorite way to talk to my sphere is organically, authentically, and with a little bit of anecdote. And so the structure that I offer is one that actually collects data, which I need to be more efficient at that 10 to 17% yield I'm trying to gain annually, year over year. I need to have a regular cadence of conversation in that intro. I got to manage expectations. I don't want this to be a 45-minute conversation. And agents get stuck on the phone with their sphere a lot longer than any other lead source because they're afraid of making it seem like I only called because I needed something. And so you actually overextend that conversation. And then what you unintentionally do is you teach your sphere of influence, oh, don't pick up that phone call right now. I don't have 45 minutes to give them. So if you set the precedent up front, that it takes 30 to 45 minutes to get off the phone call with you or to get off the phone with you, it's a lot less likely they're going to answer that phone call the next time you do it. And so these should be under 10 minutes ideally. And this structure allows that. This structure helps to keep it within even 5 minutes. And truly the sweet spot there for any real estate conversation, 6 to 7 minutes. That's what we'd like to see when we're prospecting specifically. So in the sphere structure, I start with the intro. The intro should sound like you. Like you as an individual. So if you and I were on the phone, it'd be like, hey, what are you doing? Or hey, girl, or Ally, what's up? It would be very natural, very organic, friendly, probably a little bit laid back and enthusiastic at the same time. There's high energy, but we're not overthinking the intro, right? So the intro should sound like you, and then you have to manage time expectations. So it should sound like, Ally, how's it going? Oh, good. Hey, real quick. Hey, I just had a couple of minutes. Hey, 2 minutes of your time. I want to manage time expectations up front. That makes it easier to get off the phone later. Now, the next thing I do is I'm going to collect data, and I'm going to do this in a very organic way where I am telling them, hey, I'm doing this thing that I'm being more intentional. And I like that word intentional a lot. That's super important because it indicate that maybe you weren't doing this before. So if you are somebody who you hear this and you're like, I wouldn't do that. I've never done that. That's not something that people would think I would do. That word intentional does a lot of the heavy lifting for you. Hey, I'm real quick. I'm doing this thing where I'm being more intentional about sending birthday cards and holiday cards. And I came across your name and I realized I don't even have your birthday. When's your birthday and what's the best address to send a birthday card to? And it should you should get the birthday, you should get the address. And then after that, you're going to say, I'm going to do some e-cards here and there too for different holidays. What's a good email for you? I'm going to get the email, and then I'm going to go into what's called a forward conversation: family, occupation, recreation, dreams. But this forward conversation has already been defined for them. There's a 2-question ask. They're back to back, no space in between. Awesome. So how's life? How's work? Ending on work. Life is the lead in, work is the subject we're going to talk about. That makes talking about real estate really easy. So I'm going to do a quick side quest here, if that's okay with you, Ally. Let's say I'm not calling my sphere in a organized way. I'm giving a very specific structure here. Let's say I'm just out in the wild talking to my sphere. You should be able to talk to anybody at any time, most within reason, at any place about real estate. That should be a skill you learn. And one of the easier ways to do this is just talk to people about work. What do you do for work? What do you like about it? Tell me more about that. And then they are going to ask you about work. And that's where you talk about real estate. So I'll bring it back to the structure. I'm going to say, how's life? How's work? They're going to say, work's going great. Maybe I get some additional insight, but if I get a 1-word answer person, they say like, oh, it's good. Work's good. I'll do one additional question to see if I can open that up a little bit. And I'll say, what's good about it? And then I'll be quiet. Super important when you ask a question, don't fill in the space behind. Don't answer it. Don't overextend it. Just be quiet. Be quiet and listen to what they have to say. Either they will pick up the social cue of the awkward silence, or you'll sit in awkward silence. That's ideal. Practice it more and more. Trust me on this. You talk about work. If they give you another 1 word and they say something like, it's work, Now I'm going to talk about work. What they've just displayed to me is I don't want to talk about that really, or I don't know how to talk about that really. I'm willing to listen here. From now on, with your sphere of influence, here's how you talk about work, about real estate. You talk about it anecdotally according to an experience that you're actually having with it. So it could sound like this. Work's going really well. I actually just helped these first-time home buyers at a closing, and we hugged at the closing table. And it was a great reminder that what I do matters and that I'm helping people. Or work's going great. I used to have to take time off to go see my kids' soccer game. And now I never miss a practice. Real estate has really given me the opportunity to have more control over my schedule. And I feel like I'm actually living out my life the way I want to. You can talk about it as surface level or as deeply as you want to, but make sure it's anecdotal, meaning specific to your experience, and make sure that you're referencing real estate in that conversation. And now they know that you're in real estate. And not only that, logic makes us think, emotion makes us act. So now they have an emotional connection to me when they think about real estate. That's what I'm trying to establish. Maybe I do it on this first conversation, maybe it happens over time, but I'm getting a good foundation established there. And then the final thing about this is get off the phone. Get off the freaking phone. It was so great talking to you. I've got to get a few more birthdays. I'll talk to you soon.
That's so funny. I think I'm cheating a little bit because normally when I talk about real estate, I'm just talking about Andrew. So I'm like, oh my gosh, my husband Andrew, he just did it. And I often get asked, well, don't you sell real estate too? And I'm like, well, yeah, but he sells more. It will come through me, but then I pass it off to him, which maybe is a little bit easier, but that might not be as, duplicatable for agents. Maybe they're not doing it with their spouse.
There's more than one way to do it. There's definitely more than one way to do it.
And I think I tell a lot of horror stories. So when people are like, how's real estate going? I'll tell them the craziest, most outlandish thing that
You give them the
recently just
tea.
happened.
Yeah.
Give them the tea. So do you think it's easier to start with your first layer of sphere, like brother, sister, aunt, grandma, grandpa? Or you think it's better to start with the person I worked with at Chili's 10 years ago?
I'm really glad you brought that up. There is no hierarchy to who you should call. There's no prioritization. It's everybody. Now, let's say you're joining a team. I'd find your top 50 and get them immediately into your drip campaign, start incubating, because Sphere takes about 6 to 18 months to incubate, depending on location, attempts, plan, strategy, all that, consistency especially. But somewhere between 6 to 18 months when you work your sphere of influence is what it takes to really incubate it, so you're seeing a consistent return. So everybody has to be an option now, but we want to get some people incubating. So the top 50, if you have a CRM that is already established, you have drip campaigns that are already established, then you incorporate that quarterly call. But the quarterly call should go out to everybody. I recommend what most organizations are doing, which is tag your database. Keller Williams has an example of this. I've seen some others, but I've operated with this for a long time. 2 letters every week. You call anyone whose last name starts with either of those letters, and then you've called your entire sphere of influence in a quarter, because there's 13 weeks in the quarter, 26 letters in the alphabet. Divided by 2, you get 2 letters every week. You do it 4 times a year. That's a minimum 7 to 10% return. So yeah, your sphere, everyone gets called. Now, I'll wrap with this around the sphere of influence stuff. There will be people in your sphere you do not want to talk to. I get that. Here's my rule of thumb, because if I can get you to call your sphere, like you having a few people in there you don't want to talk to, not the hill I'm going to die on. Like, can we make an argument that everyone is an opportunity? Yes. And there might be some people that just you don't want to reconnect with. Maybe, it's a former ex, or, maybe you're sober and you don't want to call the friends you used to party with, back in the day. Like, sure, if my rule of thumb is if they're going to invite toxicity back into your life, it's fine if you don't call them. If you're just worried about what that conversation is going to feel like because it's been so long, you're going to have to do it scared.
It's a little awkward. It's a little awkward. I think we ran out of time, so we'll have to cover on our next episode
I
what to.
know, sorry, your
It's
questions
okay.
were too good.
It's okay. No, I love it. And I think, to be honest with you, I think that Sphere is the easiest place to start, the cheapest place to start. There's a lot of agents out there that are just getting started, and starting with your Sphere is maybe not the easiest for everybody, but it's the cheapest, and everybody has to know somebody. And even if you don't know somebody that's here, you're going to know somebody somewhere that may be coming here, or know somebody somewhere that knows someone that's also coming here. So moral of the story is call your sphere even though it's awkward, weird, and uncomfortable. And eventually it'll get
Yes.
better. And worst case
Yes.
scenario, it's really awkward. You hang up the phone and you don't see him again for another 6 months. When was the last time you
Yeah,
saw?
and honestly, it'll be fine. Eventually you develop the credibility where they just recognize you. It's different. Moral of the story with the sphere here, if you don't have a sphere, you need to build one. And that's where the database ads come in. You need a sphere of influence. You have to build it.
Absolutely. Thank you so much for coming on our podcast again and
Thanks for
talking a little bit
having
about
me.
Sphere, what to say, how to manage it, and how often to do it. It's very, very important and a really easy way to kind of start your business if you don't know where to start.
Love. Well, I appreciate you having me. Thank you.